So I spent almost 17,000 hours as a healthcare worker, specifically a doctor of pharmacy or pharmacist, whatever you want to call me. Um, and I learned that no matter what I do, even though I thought this was going to be my dream job, I invested $200,000 in debt to get this degree and tons of hours. Again, 17,000 hours. I just did the quick math on it. I still got kind of like bored of what I was doing. And I think when I was younger, I always expected to like find some sort of medical job where I would do it once and then I would never have to do any other type of job ever again. I wouldn't have to job search, especially because I made a lot of money as a pharmacist. Like my peak year, I was making 170 as a pharmacy manager in South Carolina. And it was cool, but what I ended up feeling more like was a little bit of burnout. I felt like I was just giving pieces of myself away, like consistently, because I was just always working. Like as healthcare workers, we really don't ever have a need to look for work. Patients are usually sick. We're in demand. Other pharmacists were looking for help, so they didn't have to work all the time. And there was just always pretty much like a lack of help, in my opinion. Like every time I wanted time off, it was like fighting or like clawing tooth and nail, find the coverage I needed to do the things I needed to do in life. And it wasn't like I was asking for anything insane. Like sometimes it was just parties. I said, oh, I needed to go to like a birthday party or something like that, or like my family's graduation. And I didn't go because I didn't fight hard enough, because I didn't know how to fight hard enough for what I wanted in my life. I just went straight from school, 18 to 25, knew I had a goal to become a pharmacist. And then everyone told me if I was going to become successful, you had to work hard. You had to become a manager. You had to become a district manager. You want to become somewhere in the C-suite, whatever that means. Like it's like become like a CEO, COO. Now I am a CEO of my own company, and I do have my own team. But instead of me waiting, I don't know, 20 years to maybe for the chance to become CEO for another company, I just started my own. So it doesn't need to take 30 years, 40 years for you to, I don't know, hit your dreams, do what you want to do, get what you want out of life. You can do it right now. And it's crazy because like once I started our company, we made way more than I would have ever, than at least that I could have imagined as a pharmacist. Again, I only got to a pharmacy manager, but even talked to my friends who were district managers, regional managers, there's no way they would have made it like financially as well off as a business would do for you. Because again, first of all, it's super tax efficient. There's a lot of write-offs. You can pretty much like use your business to live your life. And you generally like when you're doing the work, it doesn't feel as stressful because it's your own business. It's like when you go to the gym, like, yeah, there's a little bit of resistance. It feels like work. But after a while, it starts to feel good. So when everyone's like, oh yeah, you work 12, 13 hours at your job or you're in business, but you only worked 8 hours in your job. Why would it be a better thing? It's a better thing because, the work you do is for you. Like it's going to make you better overall. It affects no one else besides you until like you have a lot of employees and you get really large, and yeah, you have other people depending on you. But if you're like a solopreneur, which is like someone who is an entrepreneur but works alone, which is quite common in 2025 or like 2020s, like it's like things that millennials and Gen Z want to focus on. And becoming a business owner is kind of cool now. It's kind of like being a celebrity. And it's much easier, I'll tell you that. Again, like I felt like when I was working full time for someone else, specifically full time. As part time, it feels more like volunteering, which is fun. But when I was full-time and I was working pretty much like for money, for the reason of like, I need to save up, I need to invest, I need to buy a home, I need to pay my bills, working for someone else was never that fulfilling for me. I'm not sure if it was like the fact that I was working for someone else or because I was just low on money that I felt pretty stressed, because I know like there's a window of opportunity where if I really hunker down, make a lot of money, invest it, I will be pretty much set for the rest of my life, and I won't have to work till I'm like 40 to potentially have a good retirement plan. Like I'm 33 now, born in 1991, and 10 years is going to fly by really fast soon. And soon I'll be 43, and my body won't be as strong. So for that reason, I'm just trying to not have to work all the time when I'm older. And if I could find work that I enjoy that pays better, I might as well just pick it at the moment, even if I've invested 17,000 hours as a pharmacy clerk, pharmacy technician, pharmacy intern, and pharmacist, 15 years in this field. And it was great money. And I felt like I was climbing, I was grinding, I was growing, especially in the first 8 years when I was still actually in school. But after about a year or two of like the same work, not really any like potential chances for significant raises, I honestly got a little discouraged. Like it would have been okay. Like I think I probably could have like muscled through a little bit if inflation was just killing us, because wages for pharmacists have not gone up at all significantly. And I just read a study. It says like if you make $130,000, which is pretty average for a lot of pharmacists, you have almost zero savings living as a single person in a middle class lifestyle. So I don't know. It just didn't seem like life was gonna go the way I wanted it to if I stuck with my current path of just working 9 to 5, pharmacy manager, district manager as a pharmacist. And that's what kind of like led me to all like the side hustles, like the real estate business, which is kind of what I focus on now. But it took me a while to figure out what it is exactly that I like, and a lot of experimenting, figuring out what worked and what didn't work. And my biggest lesson is like, if you think they're gonna love something for forever, like if you're, I don't know, 20, 25, you're trying to get some credentials and you think that like, hey, you're gonna do this once and this is gonna be the only job for you, and you're never gonna want to find anything different. I think you're probably wrong. I'd bet against that, especially if you're my age and you still have a lot of potential to grow. I think you'll get bored of whatever you decide to work at. Like the things that you want to do when you're 18 are generally not the same things you want to do when you're 33. Like for me, when I was 18, I thought it was cool to get girls. That was cool to go to parties. That was cool to make a lot of money. Whatever that means to you. Like again, for me, when I was 18, $130,000 seemed like a lot to me. Now when I'm 33, I'm thinking about things such as like, how do I start a family? How do I buy a home? How do I not have to work all the time if I get sick, if my parents get sick? How do I take care of them? How do I make sure that the people who put their faith in me and my business are successful? And that's what I think is cool now. So for that reason, like, again, the point is like things change. Like when you're 18, you think this is cool. It's just like how when you're kids, you probably like G.I. Joes, but now you don't care about G.I. Joes. You've outgrown it. When I was 18, I cared about partnering. I cared about like finding a partner. I haven't outgrown wanting a partner, because now I have a great partner. And that's something I want to hold on forever. But I also didn't think that I was going to want to change jobs like after spending $200,000 worth of debt and 8 years of pharmacy school. Yet it happened. So before you make like a big investment into anything, healthcare, some sort of, I don't know, expensive tuition for school, and because you think, oh, the return is going to be great. Imagine if I told you, hey, I have this home I want to sell you. It's a great investment. It's going to cost you $200,000. You're not going to make any money. and you're gonna have to spend 40 hours every single week, like studying and working without any pay, and you're actually getting negative. And at the end of those 8 years, guess what? You can make $2,000 every 2 weeks, $3,000 every 2 weeks, $4,000 every 2 weeks. Would you buy that house? Most people would say no, it's not worth 8 years of their life, especially if they're like 60. Who would want to do that? But if you buy like homes, they can pretty much make like a lot of good real estate, rural Airbnb deals that I buy, which I'm not going to get into. But essentially, if they don't make my clients money within like 6 months, I generally tell them don't buy it because it's not worth it. Like you can buy almost any other investment in other areas, have it cash flow and make you $3,000 to $4,000 per month from a $50,000 investment, and you don't have to spend 8 years of your life, a lot of study, sacrificing time with your family, your friends, your parents, people you care about, starting a new skill, sacrificing the opportunity to learn guitar, to learn how to invest in real estate, to go rock climbing, to become an electrician, become an HVAC specialist, become a business owner, an entrepreneur. So there's just so many sacrifices. So that's one issue I have with like traditional schooling and like healthcare work overall. And I don't really tell any of my friends or family to invest into like medical school, pharmacy school, dental school anymore. If you want to make money, you do it because you want to serve people and you want to help people. And it honestly should be more of like a hobby, because although I hate to say it, it's like we really do need more healthcare workers, because otherwise we're just going to be stuck with a big shortage. And hopefully if there is a shortage, like they raise prices or something, like, or income wages. But just being a W-2 worker as a healthcare worker is usually not enough to make it in America. And in California, you need like $180,000 to like have a middle class lifestyle with a family of 4. So you, spouse, 2 kids, $180,000 gone. If you're not making $180,000 net, you're probably living like a less than optimal lifestyle. Like it's no longer what they say was like, hey, happiness is capped off at 75,000. I honestly believe it's more like capped off at like 180,000 now. Especially with like what went on with like 2020 and all that stuff and all the money expansion. Like your money just doesn't go as far anymore. You can't do what they did 20 years ago, 50 years ago, what your parents did. You have to get creative. You have to own a business. You have to get online. You have to sell stuff. You have to learn how to do this. Hard times make strong people. And technically right now, if you're making less than $100,000, you're probably having a hard time. You just might not know it because you adjust to it. It's like there was once a point in my life when I was first graduate as a pharmacist. Again, I purposely forced myself to live a very frugal lifestyle, like $12,000 a year being spent, moved back to my parents, learned everything I could, and then saved for about a year and spent all my like first year savings, like 9% of my income, on buying 2 real estate investment properties that I was told was a good idea. And 8 years later, thankfully, it has been a good idea. But yeah, back to like the lesson overall, it's like, don't think that this is one and done for you. Like whatever your job you're going to go into, like I think it's a great idea to invest in skills. Don't get me wrong, but just make sure it's actually worth it financially. If it's going to cost you 8 years of your life and like almost all of your time, you can't do anything else. Because when I was in pharmacy school, I worked 1 day a week. I was tired. I went to school from about 9 to 5, and I went home and studied from about 5 to 10 o'clock. And I repeated for 4 years. So the opportunity cost is huge. Keep that in mind. And if someone's telling you become a doctor, become a healthcare worker for money, I challenge you to question them. Do your numbers, learn about investments, real estate investing, learn about business, like what it means to have like the cost to acquire a customer, lifetime gross profit per customer. And if you're making like $10,000 per customer and it only takes you 5 hours to serve them, that's a really good business model. And that actually does occur. You're essentially making $2,000 per hour. And that's things that we're doing now in our company. And the thing is, like, I don't feel bad about like having these prices, because at the end of the day, I'm making my clients $1 million by having them buy these real estate investment properties. Plus, they're low risk because the homes are only around $200,000. They only have to put around 10% down, and they rent for around 70 to 120 in revenue. Keep in mind, there's a lot of expenses we don't account, so the margin is more like 50%. But $35,000 to $60,000 a year on an investment that costs $50,000, that's a home run in my books, and I think you should definitely focus on that. And don't just limit yourself. Like, I strongly urge you, before you like commit to like a healthcare job, ask yourself why you're doing it. If the answer is like, hey, I want to pull out teeth, I want to make people feel better, I want to ease like physical pain, then yes, go for it. Spend $200,000 and try it. But I honestly think like you shouldn't go into debt for it, especially if you're just starting off, because it just puts you in a bad position. Like, if you fail, there's no refunds on this. You can't sell the house. You can't sell a failed degree. And for that reason, it's much more risky. And after spending 17,000 hours in pharmacy, this is my honest like feedback for people, is like, hey, if you're starting off and you need money, don't do it. It's just not worth it.